Hello traders, John at StockBookie.com. Today we're looking at GS, JPM, Citi, and Wells Fargo. We follow the daily, weekly, monthly time frames. We use technical analysis here at StockBookie.com. If you like the videos, go to my website, sign up, it's free, or click down here in the right hand bottom corner and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Alright guys, so let's go into the daily chart on GS. So this one's been interesting, guys. So we made all-time highs a couple months back. This thing looks like it was going to keep ripping, tearing heads off, and we slowly started the fade. So the rates have been raised. This one's kind of grinding down, up and down. So we got above the MAs, slipped. Got above the MAs, slipped again. So we're watching this, guys. So right now we are back below the moving averages on the daily time frame. This was a great bullish pattern, guys. If this would have played out, boom, we would be up here, definitely back to double top. But we end up slipping. Doesn't mean we come right back above and start moving again. So that's what we're going to watch for on the Goldman Sachs. So if we get down here, fill the gap, end up closing, we will confirm below the MAs. Then we're looking at 209, 210 double bottom. So we'll look for that. We do have good support down here on the daily and the weekly. We'll go to the weekly in a second. But let's see what happens this week with this one. If we can't hold the 750 or these moving averages, then we're going to be looking for a sideways pattern below the MAs, and then we'll see if we set up for lower prices on the daily. But overall, guys, down, sideways in a channel for the last couple months. Let's see where this thing could possibly go. And it's every time it gets to the top, guys, it gets rejected and comes right back in. Yelling raising rates will not help these guys at all. Weekly chart. Weekly, the only reason I'm saying the 210 area because you have the 50 MA here. It hasn't touched it in a while, so you're going to get good bounce area here unless we get some full out selling. Then it will go down to 210. So you have a weekly 50 MA at 23 or 213.96. That's going to be some support. But if this thing falls right into this will go through a little bit. It will overshoot, guys, just the way it is on the weekly. Weeklies aren't like a 10-minute or a 60-minute, and daily not really either. Usually it will hit it, kind of do a slingshot, and then come back up. But if there's a full-on sell on the markets, this will go lower. I still believe 200 MA is the target on a lot of these stocks, guys, whether they're tech, whether they're banks, whether they're retail or what have you. But 200 MA, if we do come down, these will be the targets eventually. And we do have a gap fill here too on the weekly as well. So let's keep an eye on this area. Down sideways as well on the weekly chart too. A little bit bearish, but being above the 50 and the 200 on a weekly, slightly bullish. So let's see what this little outside red bar will bring us into next week, because that tells me possible lower prices to come. But remember, look at this one, down and then right back up. Down, right back up, down. But this, this wiped out almost 3 weeks of gains here, guys, and it still couldn't stay above the 20 MA and confirm with some follow through. So keep an eye on that on Goldman Sachs. But again, not terrible, not the worst case scenario for the bearish pattern, but just keep an eye on these bank stocks, because as we go through these, you're going to see the similar patterns for all these charts setting up in bearish setups. Let's go to JPM. JPM, same thing, guys. So we go up, we come down, we go up until the all-time highs and gets rejected again. This isn't really so much of a bearish pattern as of Citigroup and Wells, but this one, just making another move, guys. That's the weekly, though. Let's go to the daily. Daily chart, and this is what I meant. So comes in. I wish it hit here. We would have been buying down there, but then it just makes a charge. Good bullish pattern above the MAs. Boom, off to the races, right to double top. Double top, you have a lot of bag holders here from before. They get their money back. They become sellers because at one point they were the bag holder here. It's like, oh gosh, here it goes again. You buy at 94, 82, you're just like, oh geez, I'm giving up here. Or you're holding on for dear life. Pops back up. These guys I break even. I'm done. I'm out of this thing. So they take profits. Think this one comes back in. It's holding the 20 MA pretty good. We closed below it on Friday, but look at this, down sideways action. That's what I was talking about, kind of like Goldman. You are still above the 50 and the 200 on the daily, so it's okay. There's nothing really wrong yet. But this continues going sideways, grinding inside this green bar here, then that's setting up, in my opinion, for possible lower prices. You still have gaps to fill, stuff like that. It's magical. Gap, gap, gap. Create the gap fill, more support with the 50 MA. So if it comes down, you have a lot of support. Let's even stick the Fibonacci level from this low to this high. So we have the 618 down in here, 50 at the 50 MA. So yeah, you have great support here. So let's see how this thing sets up sideways. See where the markets go into next week with the big earnings, and let's try to figure out where this thing goes. Weekly chart, we already showed that. Nice little pullback, holding up in here. Let's see if we get one more. I would love to see it come down to 87, 88, and then go sideways on the weekly and then set up. I still think we can easily go to the 81.52 area. This one really starts to rumble. There's a big gap fill here at 80.67. I don't know if we can get to 65 unless the markets are really going. But this target, easily 81, 80 bucks, maybe 75 in this area. Let's go back to see what that line is. These old all-time highs right here too, around 70 bucks. So let's see how this sets up first. Remember, when we went up, we went straight down, we went straight up again. Are we going to do that? We're going to go straight down, set up with a bearish pattern, and then go down? Again, like I always say, guys, time will tell. But just keep an eye on these charts, and let's see what happens this week. We'll do another weekly update on the following weekend as well. Let's go into Citi. Citigroup. This is what I'm talking about too. So we go up, we test these highs up, and this was actually a gap fill back from like 2009, guys, 67.50. So we came to gap window, we filled the gap, trying to get above. It's Citi, go man, here it goes. This is the rally. No one's really looking at the gap fill back from 2009 or 2008, whenever it was. Could make it above, guys, right back under. But remember, down, sideways. We did close below the 20 MA. Still strong stance above the 50 and the 200, but it's starting to slip a little bit. We have the all-time high here, the old one, 65.37, and we have a gap fill too right around 65.22. So that's going to be good support. So let's see if we could get through that. If we can get through this support right here, we're definitely going to the $64 or the 50 MA, and you have a gap fill there around 63.77, and then a low pivot around 63.24. So let's see if we just continue to chop, see if the markets are weak. If they're a little bit stronger, these can grind up. The market turns a little bit red this week on earnings. Big, tall task, guys. I'm sure everyone's going to have good earnings, especially tech. These will start to slide. Actually, I shouldn't say that. Everything been grinding higher. It's a 50-50 shot into earnings, guys. So we'll see what happens with that. But right now, still in a strong stance, slightly bearish. Did close below the 20. Let's give it more time in the next week and see what happens with the with C. Again, same thing. Gap fill comes right back in. You have a little bit of a tail on the weekly, nothing crazy, but he has a little bit of nice follow through here the last couple 2 weeks here to get under this green bar here, or the gap fill. So again, though, still above the MAs on the weekly, still a strong stance. Let's see if we go sideways, or let's see if we get one more little pullback into, I would love to see the 63.19 area get hit and then breached, and then go right to the 62 area at the 20 MA, and then we'll see if this stops here, kind of retraces back up, and then the next leg down, or do we get the next shot right back up, and then big resistance, still the same area, 67.50, then the all-time high right around 68.91. So again, weekly chart's not too bad. Let's see what else this gives us the week coming up, and then on the daily as well. Daily looks a little more bearish. You got about 6 or 7 days, from ups, down, sideways right here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days sideways, and now we close below the 20 MA. So let's see if this slowly just starts to creep down. Again, good support here. Let's see how it reacts around the $65 area. Let's go into Wells, FC. So Wells Fargo, it's pretty much the same scenario. We get this big gap up, and then there's a slow grind down. You got down, sideways, slightly bearish, still above the 20 or the 50 and the 200, but drop down, and we close right on top of these low pivots here. If this starts to break, definitely going down to 53.73. If that cracks, you got a couple gaps to fill, then ultimately double bottom down here. Look at one thing on this chart, though. We do have an upsloping trend line, if I could get it in there. Let's see. And this could help too. Let's watch for a gap down and see if we could get below that. That's like the magic thing. If you look at my gold video, look at that one, how they gapped it up those couple times over resistance, and then on Friday they gapped it up above everything, the trend line, the moving averages, and now they're hopefully get gold going. But not to get off the subject, that's what we're looking for. So if you don't want to deal with this resistance, gap it down below and keep this thing going. That's what an institution will do. Just like if they don't want to deal with resistance, they'll gap it up over and keep this thing going. You have gap fills up here and stuff like that. So let's keep an eye on this trend line on Wells. If that starts to break, we will have lower prices to come. But right now, we had this nice little pop into these areas of resistance. This is where it couldn't get through last time. So we had a nice drop. They tried to pop it, a little retrace, came right back in. Another retrace, right back in, kind of grinding away on earnings, and then another fade into that. So we had good resistance there. Let's stick a fib from this. Let's go from this low to that high. Let's see if 750 or 618. Yeah, 618 right there. Look at that. So that's where we're halting to as well. So let's see what happens this week. Let's see if we grind sideways, setting up for the next down move. And if we do grind sideways, we still have this trend line here. So if we do grind 5 or 6 days into Friday, then the following week, going into August, that's when we'll look for a little more of a pullback. Let's go into the weekly real quick. Weekly, yeah, just up and down, up and down. There's your trend line there. Pretty much in a channel again, up, down, starting to fade. We did close below the 20 MA on the weekly, but we're right into this trend line. If this starts to slide, 53, 52.78, then ultimately double bottom here around $50.86 or 51 with the 200 MA. So you have great support. Not so much resistance. You got the 618, the pivot, but it starts getting up here, all-time high, and this little gap fill will be a big area, 58.71. But right now, up and trying to fade. If we do close below this area around 52.64 or the bottom of this big green bar here on the weekly, that will possibly set up for lower prices. So again, not too much on the charts. Daily's looking a little bit bearish, still in a good stance though, above the MAs, just like the rest of them, but down and sideways starting to set up and just kind of grinding and fading. Just slow grind down. I mean, this was at the high about 57 bucks. Now we're at 54, so a $3, grind down in the last 2.5 weeks or so. Big areas coming up. Watch this trend line. That's going to be the line in the sand. All right, guys, that's it for today with the banks. And again, if you like these videos, go to my website, sign up. It's free. Or click down here and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Again, guys, thanks for stopping by. Thanks for watching my videos. I really appreciate it. God bless. See you on the charts.